I live in a shire in the west of Scotland. Now swallowed up in sleepy suburbia, my little corner was once a Victorian village. Though no longer nestled into farmland and orchards, the trees and the hills remain. Greenery yet blooms forth, and the bees cluster to drink their fill of nature's nectar. Welcome to my wee video, where I'll be sharing the comfort of slow living and the ways I try to embrace it, even in busy and difficult seasons. I've had a lot going on, and it's not always easy to slow down, but I never regret it when I do. The first step for me always begins with venturing out into nature. I have been struggling to create recently, but it's not because I don't have inspiration. I do feel really inspired at the moment and I have lots of ideas for what I want to create. It's just that I'm lacking a rhythm and a routine for it. There's a Central Asian proverb my mum told me recently: when in season, eat in season. Something I think we've lost a little in our easy access supermarket culture. While I'm grateful to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables year-round, there is no doubt that seasonal is always sweetest. I think the same can be extended to lifestyle. Whatever the season, don't fight it. Meld your soul with the joy of summer or the coziness of fall, and accept the changes as they come. Sometimes when you're trying to achieve a goal or make something happen in your life, it feels like a no-entry sign has been dropped out of the sky. And that's okay. You take a rest, recalibrate, then get up and try again. Case in point, my attempted writing session thwarted by the rain. Now that I have my lovely iced coffee, I'm going to start on one of the simple living routines that I try to do every week, which is to declutter my fridge and freezer, just to clear out all the old stuff that's gone bad. This also helps me to plan the meals for the week ahead. So there's a lot of stuff in there that I don't throw out. Maybe it's towards the end of being good, but it's still maybe okay in a soup or a stew, and then I'll plan my meals accordingly, and this helps to reduce food waste and also means that we're starting the week very fresh. I almost always cook in big batches, which allows me to freeze a few portions for the days when I don't have time to cook. This has saved me so many hectic cooking sessions and last minute dashes to the shops. I'm not going to pretend like I'm able to swoosh around doing all this kind of housework stuff without any stimulation, because I'm going to be honest, I really get bored doing this kind of thing, and I usually feel the need to be listening to something or watching something. And I know it's not great to have too much of a habit of having constant stimulation while doing things. I do try to do some of my housework without having anything in my ears or having any videos on, but just sometimes I'm really struggling with motivation, and having a good podcast on is one of the only things that can give me the motivation to keep going with it. So when I do that, I do try to listen to something productive. At the moment, my two main podcasts that I listen to are on themes of simple living to try and inspire me towards living more simply, and that is the Declutter Hub and Clutterbug, which I will link down below. I think a common misconception about slow and simple living is that it's only for people who never get busy. For me, it means finding ways to stay organised so that when life, or in some cases death, happens, there is space to maintain some sense of tranquility in spite of it. Here I am washing some fresh veggies with vinegar so that they last longer, then doing a wee bit of prep to make my life easier during the week. Shortly after I filmed this, my grandfather passed away, and I was so grateful that I could drop everything to spend time with my family and without having to worry about healthy eating on top of everything else. Some words about my grandfather. His name was Robin, but I called him Grandpa Snail. From childhood into old age, he always took life at a slow pace, often to the chagrin of those around him. He also adored nature, and one of my earliest memories of him was watching him nurse a poorly bee back to health with sugar water. He didn't forget to have fun though, camping through Europe in the summers and skiing in the winters. Though possessing a stubborn streak, he always had a smile for me, even in his later years when he didn't remember my name. He slept through half my wedding, only to dance the night away, believing himself returned to a 1950s ballroom. He lived to the grand old age of 90, so perhaps there is some wisdom in slowing down and enjoying life. It's very still tonight for a change. Sometimes you get these summer evenings where the rain stops and the wind dies down and the sunset just breaks out in the most magnificent colours. It's like nothing else. And the number of times where I've realised that I've been sitting inside on my computer or just being inside so much of the time. And I was sitting watching Netflix actually, and I just glanced out the window and saw these beautiful orange colours, and I was like, I know there's a sunset just out the hill at the back. And it was like this compulsion that just grabbed me, and I was like, what am I doing sitting inside on my screen? And I shut it down and I just threw my shoes on, grabbed my camera and just ran out. And I wish I did this more often, because this is living. This is living even amidst a lot of the pain and the sorrow that I feel right now since my granddad's passing. I feel like it makes me all the more aware of how I do not want to waste my life. I don't want to waste my life because it's short, and that feels more real now than it has in a very long time. This is just so beautiful. I come here often in the evenings and I just can't get over the way that the light is. Just the way that it shines on the foliage. And especially how many walks I took here in the winter when this was so stormy and so wild. And now it's completely calm. You can hardly hear a thing. It's just so different, but it's the exact same place. And the trees were so bare, but now they're just flourishing. I think it's such a great metaphor for life. I think if you ever feel disheartened, just look at nature. Everything's in cycles, everything's in seasons. All the hard times, this too shall pass. There will always be another season of blossoming that will come afterwards. It's only when you fight against it that it creates all this kind of internal anguish and internal mental disturbance. But it doesn't have to be like that. We can't have a perfect life. We can't have a life without trouble. But we can have a life where we're able to find peace and joy and love in spite of the trouble. I really believe that. Look at that. Look at that. Can you see it? Look at the colours. Look at the colours. Oh. It's so beautiful. So wonderful. There is goodness in the world yet.